Okay. I'm sure you get this question a lot, but did you buy that landscaping company to merge with your real estate portfolio?
No, actually, I didn't because I'm in Richmond. All my fix and flips and deals are in Richmond, Virginia, and then some of them are in Newport News, Norfolk. But obviously, Georgia, Virginia are not, geographically close, just on the same coastline.
Right.
But so the answer to that question is no, I didn't do that whatsoever. I was
Okay.
actually looking to wholesale that business, to be honest with you.
Okay. So let's dive into that a little bit because you just said wholesale a business.
Yep.
Hey, welcome to the Mission to Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Tim Yu, and I got my good friend Phil Ty on here. This dude's done everything under the sun in real estate, fix and flip, wholesale, but we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about something special that he just did this year, and we're going to do a deep dive on it. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What's up?
What's up, bro?
Not too much, man. Thanks so much for tripping on the podcast, for having me on your podcast.
Dude, I cannot wait to dive into what we're going to talk about. It's going to be a little bit of surprise, but before we kind of dive into that, tell everybody what you're about and where they can find you, bro.
Yeah, so I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia, and I've been in real estate since 2017. And since that time, I've done, fix and flip over 50 of them, 80 wholesale deals, done 30 plus lending or gator transactions. I have 16 units that I actively manage, and then I'm a part of a 40 unit LP position out of Buxton, North Carolina. So that's a little about myself. And you guys can find me on Instagram, Philip H. Ty, and then Philip Ty at Facebook. So, and then I have a YouTube channel. So I go over all that stuff too as well.
I love that, dude. Yeah, we're gonna add all those socials down below because this guy is a total freaking wealth of knowledge. He just spewed like so many different things in like a minute, okay? Like fix and flipping, all this stuff. But today we're gonna talk about a business that he acquired. So yeah, like I kind of want you to kind of introduce like what type of business you bought
Sure.
and we just kind of go into it.
Yeah. So at the top of this year, meaning January 2nd of 2024, ended up acquiring a landscaping business out of Beaufort, Georgia, which is basically northeast of Georgia or Atlanta, excuse me.
So like, is that near Atlanta? I'm super bad at
Yeah.
geography.
Yeah, northeast of Atlanta. So if you're looking at Atlanta, it's like basically the northeast quadrant of Atlanta.
Okay, I'm sure you get this question a lot, but did you buy that landscaping company to merge with your real estate portfolio?
No, actually, I didn't because I'm in Richmond. All my fix and flips and deals are in Richmond, Virginia, and then some of them are in Newport News, Norfolk. But obviously, Georgia, Virginia are not, geographically close, just on the same coastline.
Right.
But so the answer to that question is no, I didn't do that whatsoever. I was
Okay.
actually looking to wholesale that business, to be honest with you.
Okay. So let's dive into that a little bit because you just said wholesale a business.
Yep.
Kind of kind of walk me through that process here.
Yeah, just like how you guys can wholesale a real estate, single family home, multifamily asset, you can also wholesale a business, kind of like what a realtor does, what a broker does. It's the same kind of situation, except none of the professions, the broker or the realtor, controls that transaction, right? If you're a wholesaler, you do control that transaction because you have a contract to buy it or an LOI to acquire it.
So for this deal, so you were going to sell it. What kind of changed your mind on buying it instead of just selling it?
So what changed our mind? So just to kind of give you guys some context of like how big the landscaping deal was, for instance, like numbers wise, it was generating a $430,000 revenue, yearly revenue. It's a mom and pop shop. So in the business world, that's really small. It's a
Right.
small business, right? And then the net profits was about $90,000 to $100,000 it was making net profits. So you really couldn't really hire a GM or expand that business if you were or if you were an institutional buyer. So you have to really come in there and put like some elbow grease in there, sweat equity, right? So it's a small deal. We end up structuring it to where the seller would take a 10% down payment of the 200 and they believe it was like $40,000 that we end up structuring as a purchase price
Okay.
over 5 years, no interest. Okay. That's our original structure. And then the reason why we decided to come into the deal was the fact that when we were looking for an end buyer, the end buyer actually approached us, and he was in the same networking events that we were in, circles and all that stuff. And he ended up saying, yeah, I'll actually pay you guys an assignment fee of $15,000, and I'll give you guys, each of you guys, 10% equity into the deal, so you guys can be the M&A, the merger and acquisition side of the business, to where we would go out and go find deals, qualify the deals, bring them back to the partnership, and see if it'll be a good opportunity for us to buy it and then merge it into the landscaping business. So that's what we
Oh
are
man,
structuring.
that is wild. Okay, so the guy that
Yeah.
was gonna buy the company off you
Yep.
gave you money anyway, gave you assignment fee or
Yep.
finder's fee, right?
Finder's fee.
And gave you and your partner 20% equity as a
Mm-hmm.
whole.
Yep.
So you guys can go hunt for other landscaping companies
Yep.
and you're gonna roll it up. Is there I don't want to like blow I don't want to go too far into the
Sure.
rabbit hole, but are you guys trying to do a roll up and then
Yep.
eventually sell that portfolio off?
Exactly. We're looking to do a roll up. And the one thing that I forgot to mention is that once he was the end buyer, he actually restructured, retraded the deal with the seller to be a zero down kind of a situation, because the seller originally wanted the equipment, or not originally wanted, the seller changed their mind, wanted some of the equipment that the business owned. And then we basically had that cover the closing, cover the down payment, and then some actually of the purchase price. So we end up paying a little bit less, and then structuring a 0% down for the purchase of the business, and then we actually took in the working capital that the business
Oh,
had. So we
okay.
actually got about $22,000 to $25,000 of working capital after we closed.
That's crazy. So guys, I just want to kind of touch base on this real
Yeah.
quick. Like, everyone who follows us, right, talk about creative finance or real estate. These guys are literally buying companies on creative finance,
Yep.
right? They're paying sellers over time for their business. Like this is like game changing, right? So a lot of real estate investors, they start off in the real estate space and eventually they start acquiring businesses that kind of vertically integrate or together within their business. But these guys, they're not doing that. They're just buying landscaping companies and eventually trying to sell it to a hedge fund or
Yeah.
a bigger investor.
Yep.
Okay. So since you're on the hunt, so you obviously have this landscaping business already and you're hunting for other landscaping businesses, where can you find these opportunities if you were trying to get into this?
Yeah. So a lot of people, it's kind of funny. They don't really know how to find businesses like this. Your typical answer would probably go to Biz Buy Sell, or what you would find like Cody Sanchez say, like, go to those types of broker
Mm-hmm.
websites and you can find those deals. But I would say 9 out of 10 of them are not deals, because just like realtors, they like to mark up uh, the 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 price of any asset they're looking to sell. So what you're getting is the no equity play into the deal, right? So in order for you to find off-market deals, because everybody knows off-market deals are the best deals, because you can structure it to however you want. There's no middleman telling them not to do this or not to do that. You can structure it to where it's very more creative based on the seller's need. And a lot of these sellers are looking to retire and just go, right off in the sunset, or play golf, or spend more time with the family. But just know that this company that they basically took 20, 30 years of their lives to build is their baby.
Yeah.
So how we end up finding this one was just basically cold calling. We pulled a list of businesses. You can do this through like Google searches, right? You can search through Google, type in, landscape near me, and then a bunch of landscaping companies come out. Or if they don't have a website, it's going to be a little more difficult. You might have to go through like a Yellow Pages or like Craigslist or whatever it may be to get that mom and pop that's looking to basically have a good structure. For your more institutional, like your franchise, those are going to be more cost heavy, or higher purchase price, because they have more systems in place, and they're just bigger in revenue. So you can structure a lot of good deals if it's a mom and pop, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like calling multifamily investors, not calling the 65-year-old, mom and dad that's
Yeah.
owned the property for 30 years. So how would you kind of just like have that conversation. You're just like, yo, what's up,
Yeah.
man? You want to sell your business?
Yeah. So the one thing that I forgot to mention about finding deals, you can also advertise them too as well. So I use a lot of Facebook ads, and I do nationwide kind of advertisement. It's about $10 a day. And my cost per lead was basically, or is like $5 or some change. So it's really, really cheap in a sense of like, if you're coming from real estate to
Holy
business
cow.
buying, like it's like shooting fish in a barrel, more or less.
Jeez. I don't want to talk about how much cost per contract suite we do. I think ours was like $5,000-$6,000 per contract.
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Wow.
do want to say, like, in reality standpoint, like the total acquisition time is way longer. It's like 6 months to 8 months to a year just to acquire a business because, like selling a house is very easy, but buying a business is very difficult because there's so many different things and due diligence you have to kind of go into. So it kind of gets into this question you end up asking, like, what do we talk about, right? Calling a seller is a lot easier than calling a property owner because property owners get calls all the time. They cuss you out. Business owners, they don't really get that many calls. The calls that they're getting is actually customer. Rarely a customer is going to ask like, hey, are you looking to sell your business? They rarely get that call. And so when you actually ask them that question, they're actually stunned. They're like dumbfounded, like, wait, you want to buy my business? Like, what? That's so weird. But they're willing to entertain that conversation because they don't even get it. So what we
Yeah.
end up asking more or less is obviously the history, how they got started. Obviously, you know who they are already. You can get their contact information, all the basic stuff. But then you want to actually dive into operations. And what operation even really is like employees, right? You got to know the employees. You got to know what their roles and responsibilities are, right? You got to understand what the seller's responsibilities are. Like, what does he do in the day-to-day business? Because you want to think about like, do I have to replace it? Or, I mean, do I have to take over his position? If I do, then I need to know what I'm in for. And if I don't, I need to find a GM to take over that. Or if he has an employee that's already doing what he's doing, then I can promote him from within. So you got to understand the logistics of the operation. Also look into the real estate too as well. Like, does he own the real estate? Does he lease the real estate? And what does that situation look like? I look into the fact of obviously confirming revenue numbers, and then confirming net profit margins at the end of the day, because a lot of these owners, they're a lifestyle business, meaning they're making money to support their lifestyle, like, car payments, medical insurance for themselves. They have gas payments. They have all these other things. They're maybe, having a home office that they're using the business funds to repair, right? So all of that stuff is going to be added back to the bottom line because you're not going to be doing that. Next thing is you really want to focus on their customer concentration, meaning is there like the top 5 customers, is it controlling like 20 to 30% of the revenue? And if you were to take that, if you were to buy the company, take it over, do those customers, they might leave you. And then now you have
Yeah.
to go find another 20 to 30% of revenue, which is, it's a lot of work. Also want to understand the systems that they have, right? Do they have a sales process? Do they have a salesperson to do the sales process? Do they have, like, what kind of marketing do they do? Is it all word of mouth? Because I get a lot of that. It's all word of mouth. You can't scale word of mouth. You can't scale referrals, right? You have to have a system in place to pay for ads, get the leads into the door, convert them with a salesperson, and make sure that, it generates revenue. So a lot of these mom and pops, they don't have these types of things that I'm talking about. And it really takes, it's really that crazy, right? If you think about it, a lot of people that are watching this video don't have a process, but I ended up mentioning too, right? Some of my own businesses that we start don't have that process, and that's normal, right? But if you're in the business for 20, 30 years, like it's just like, it's what they do normally. It's a grind.
Yeah,
And
it's
those are some of the
crazy.
questions. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
They never think about like, oh wow, I should probably hire a manager,
Yeah.
and it's always blown my mind because, my parents or my mom's side of the family owned a Chinese grocery store,
Uh,
and the whole freaking family worked in that grocery store for like 15 years.
yeah.
And in my mind now, as like an entrepreneur business owner, I'm like, why don't you just hire a manager
Yep.
and enjoy your life? They
Yeah.
just don't think of it, I guess. But
It's control too as well.
yeah, control. They don't want to let it go. When you're analyzing a business, and
Mhm.
you see a company or business that doesn't have marketing, do you go, wow, this is a great opportunity? Or do you try to avoid that? Because I feel like that'd be a value add, right?
Yeah, it's a value add play there. So a lot of mom and pops will basically, it's word of mouth. We've been around for 15, 20 years. Everybody knows us. Like, that's great. That's awesome. That I'd say like that's a dollar sign right there. And then I also like to say like, hey, that's also a flag for us because we don't really know how you're getting money or how you're generating leads, right? We also tell them like, word of mouth referrals is not scalable. You can't
Uh,
put a KPI on that, right?
True.
But dollars spent and leads coming in, that's something you can track. And so sometimes I have to tell these types of sellers the real scenario. And I basically give them a discounted version, like, hey, that's something that we can't really, let's
Put
say
a
a lot of
price.
work. Yeah, put a price on it. That'll take a lot more work. We got to add more resources to that. We got to add more money to the dollar amount because if we're looking to grow the business, right, we have to put more money into the business and resources, and that's going to cost us time, energy, and effort.
That makes a lot of sense. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, I feel like the negotiations are way more intricate, more detailed than a normal real estate
Yep.
transaction. Have you purchased a property on creative finance and dealing with the SBA loan?
No, I haven't. I have not. But now that you mention it, the SBA you'll have more favorable terms if there's property involved. So, for example, if you buy a business straight out, just the business itself, and it has real estate involved as far as like the owner owns the real estate, but he just wants to sell the business, the SBA will give you, I think right now like 11 to 12% interest rate over an amortization year of 10 years. So your
Wow.
interest and principal payment is really high. If there's real estate involved and the seller wants to sell it, that can actually reduce your payments. I think it's amortized over, I believe it's 25 years. So it's a huge difference.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jeez. Is the
huge
interest rate
difference.
different too?
I don't believe so because it's an SBA. I
Yeah, but
mean, you'll
still,
have
10 to 25 years is a big difference.
difference. Yeah, it is. So a good rule of thumb, if the net profit is not 2x the debt payment, then you probably shouldn't touch it because you're gonna have a lot of issues probably the first 90 days of taking over, and you're
Uh,
gonna be really cash deprived because if there's no working capital, that capital has to come from somewhere else. The SBA can lend on working capital, but that's just an extra payment you have to make every single month that you don't want to
yeah.
probably want to
I
do.
hear the SBA is very difficult to use as well. Like, well, not difficult, but you got to send a lot of reports. You got to like maintain a lot of documents for that, and a lot of
Yeah.
people just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, you have to do it also in the front end of things. You just submit basically all your financials. They'll ask for more. They'll ask for the seller. They'll ask for a lot of financial from the seller just because it's a government-backed loan. They want to obviously protect their butts. We get a lot of sellers that don't want to go through the SBA because they know how rigorous and how time intensive it's going to be.
Uh,
So that we also like to blame the bank situation. Like, hey, looks like you don't qualify for SBA lending. we If you still want to sell your business, this is kind of how we structure it, and then we just kind of gear them towards the creative financing
I
route,
see.
right? Because you can tell by their financials.
Yeah, that is genius. So you guys kind of already have the idea if it's going to get passed or not through the
Oh, easily.
SBA.
Yeah,
So you're just like, yeah, if you want to go through the SBA, go ahead. They go through the process and then they find out later on, they're like, oh my gosh, like we're screwed if we don't,
yeah,
sell it the creative way. So
yeah.
that's smart. Okay, so switching gears a little bit,
Sure.
when you're getting ready for acquiring a business, so let's say, Tim, let's go buy a business. Let's start calling. Who do you think or who do you believe should be on your team? So like there's different types of attorneys. Like I know
Yeah.
there's obviously title company attorneys, stuff like that, but I know there's like transaction attorneys for these type of deals, right?
Yep. So, I mean, normally how we did our transaction was very, very. It was more basic than a real estate transaction.
Holy cow.
Honestly, yeah, it was like super simple. So all we did was basically we hired an attorney that would draft up the purchase agreements, like an attorney that does business or mergers and acquisitions, right? They'll know everything in and out. You submit an LOI to him. LOI is basically instructions for the attorney, right?
Mhm.
submit the LOI to the attorney. They'll draft up the purchase agreement, and then depending on what stage you're in, if you like, you can do an official closing. But what we end up doing is basically a kitchen closing. We just sat at the kitchen of the seller's house, and we just did the closing there. It's crazy.
Jeez, what?
Yeah.
Were your attorneys there or like?
Nope. Just buyer and seller
With the paperwork,
with the paperwork.
and you just like notarize it?
No, we just signed it.
What? Jeez, what was the purchase price on that again?
It was I believe it was on 240. It was 240. Yeah.
My God, dude.
240K, 0% down, 0% interest, over 5 years.
Oh my God, the heck! And then
Yeah.
how much revenue are you guys bringing in now?
So we're on track to bring about 1.1 this year.
Dang. So you
yeah.
guys scaled that bad boy.
Yeah. So so there's a couple of learning lessons. I'm going to be very honest and frank with you guys. Scaling a business is hard, and it takes a lot of cash.
Yeah.
A lot of cash. So when we bought this business, it had basically no systems. Mom and pop, freaking notepad, everything was in their head. We literally had to do a 90-day transfer of knowledge. So because there's so many customers and so many people and vendors that we had to basically transfer from the seller's head into an actual kind of accounting software, right? And so we ended up implementing a CRM system, go high level for our sales process, like new customers coming in and marketing. We had another CRM system for managing our existing clients and jobs called Jobber. And then we have a salesperson that would take all the leads that come in and call the leads that we end up getting, and then basically try to close, and then set an appointment with our field or PM, and then he'll close and do the work. With all that being said, we spent probably close to like, I would say $1,000 to $2,000 a month in marketing, which got us a minimum of 15x, but a high of 36x on our return on investment. So for every dollar we spent,
God.
yep, $15 to $36 out.
Yeah, that is killer returns.
Yep.
What kind of marketing were you guys doing? Very targeted Facebook ads or?
So we did a little bit of Facebook ads for employees for hiring talent. We did Angie's List, we did Google, and then we did a little bit of Facebook. But our biggest return on investment was Angie.
That's what I heard. I heard Angie's pretty fire for like, lawn care, cleaning companies. Like running ads on Angie like crushes apparently.
Yeah, but it doesn't crush it. It doesn't crush nationwide. I think it's very region based too as well for some reason, because we do have, I can talk about this a little bit later, but we have another company that we started from the landscaping company because we're just doing so well. But as far as revenue growth, right? But right now, towards the later of the year, we're actually in the negative because we have a lot of cash that we're looking to collect from our customers. So we have a cash conversion cycle is what we're trying to solve now. So with a lot of scale, there's also going to be a lot of expenses, but also a lot of customers that we onboard that may not be aware of our systems yet. And the cash the time to collect that cash is a longer cycle. So we still have bills to pay regularly, but our invoices and our cash hasn't come in yet. So that's the rub right now.
Are you guys do you guys have like a bookkeeping service that's kind of keeping track of it, or are you guys doing it yourself?
So the good thing about our partner Forrest, he's actually really smart. He has a marketing background. And that's why another reason why I went with Forrest, because he actually has a marketing background. He actually managed a marketing background from scratch from the bowling alley. And so I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So he had all his personnel, all his systems, and he basically brought it to the landscaping business. And what he ended up doing is he ended up hiring a CFO, a fractional CFO to come on to our team to be able to manage books, manage the numbers and all that stuff. So he's got a pretty good setup as far as he built a good team.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough how important a bookkeeper is.
Yeah.
I like roll my eyes when I first talked to a bookkeeper and they were like, oh, I charge this much money a month. And I'll tell you, I did not use a bookkeeper in what year is it? 2024. So in
Oh, this year?
2023, I did not use a
I,
bookkeeper, and I'm
man,
still paying the prices, bro. I just signed my taxes, right? So it is crazy. It is so important to have a bookkeeper. They save you a lot of money.
yeah,
They make you a lot of money in terms of like in this business, it sounds like you have a lot of accounts receivable that you need to get paid, right?
right,
Or is
right.
it accounts payable? Forgot which one.
Both accounts payable and accounts receivable. Accounts receivable is basically you receiving money. Accounts payable is you going out the door.
Ah, look at that MBA right there. That's what you learned at business school, guys. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
means you don't need to go to business school.
yeah. Just learn those two terms.
But yeah, that's absolutely crazy. So right now, so obviously you have all these, you're going through scaling problems, growth problems, but
Yep,
all very good problems to have.
sure.
Have you, is this landscaping company, have you rolled any up into this yet, or is it
Yep.
just still the original?
So we got an irrigation company too as well.
What?
Yeah, seller finance,
Oh
zero down,
man.
zero down.
Okay. And then for silly question purposes,
Sure.
how do you roll a company up together? Like, how do you do that?
So the sales process is going to be the same because it's on Go High Level, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
under the same process of our sales. As far as the CRMs are concerned, it's basically the same, right? You might rebrand it, but if you're buying a new company, there's a couple ways you can buy it. You can buy an asset sale, meaning you just buy the assets and that's all you're buying, basically the
Mm-hmm.
book of business, the assets that it has, like the equipment, all that stuff, and you roll it into your company. Or if it's a bigger business, or if you want to buy stock in it, then you have to buy the LLC. But if you buy the LLC, you don't know what they did in the past per se. So they might have liability issues associated with that.
Mm.
Or if they don't have any liability issues with it, let's say you buy a perfectly squeaky clean business, then you can buy all the work they did, like the credibility, relationships with the banks too as well. That will speed up a lot of like credit issues.
Oh yeah.
So that way you can obviously get working capital quicker for your business versus starting from scratch. So we end up buying an asset sale.
Okay, got it. Because
Yeah. Like we're also looking to buy another company right now through a broker. So we have our LOI sent to a broker it's another landscaping company basically in the same area. We're looking to do the same thing process here. We're looking to we submitted a couple of offers with them, and brokers are very hard to deal with, by the way. If you guys ever deal with brokers, they like to, for better lack of words, cock block a lot of the deals because they actually want to get paid, which I
yeah.
totally get. I completely get. They want to get paid. Like they deserve it. But what they're charging is also kind of robbery in my opinion, but that's okay. It is what it is. This company they're buying, they have a lot of their customers on the commercial side of the business, like HOAs, like businesses like Wells Fargo, like Walmart, all that stuff. We don't have that kind of clientele. So if we were to buy that, we would have a better blend of residential and commercial. So it will help
Mm.
us like have more income,
Yeah.
but also have a better
A diversified
pool.
income stream for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
My gosh. Okay. We're coming up at the 30 minutes, and I feel
Sure.
like I got so many questions. I feel like
Yeah,
you
dude.
just melted my brain. And I hope everybody out there that's trying to buy a business also had their brain melted. But this is the part of the show where we ask you like, what kind of support do you need? What are you like? The floor is yours. Like what are you
Yeah,
working on? What do you need
yeah.
help on? And where can people find you again on social media?
So right now, I'm, working obviously buying more landscaping businesses. I kind of have that kind of more or less like just in the background going. But I'm more passionate about an RV park deal that I'm working on right now because it's a blend of both worlds. It's a blend of business and it's a blend of real estate. Looking to like raise money for an RV park in Wisconsin, 135 pads. Total raise is about 1.9 for 10% in first lien position with equity stake in there too as well. So interested. If anybody's interested in that, let me know. And my social media handle is you can find me on Instagram, Philip H. Ty, my first name, middle initial, last name, and then you can find me at Philip Ty on Facebook, and then Philip H. Ty on YouTube.
Amazing, dude,
Yeah, man.
guys. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's absolutely fire. And if you got some extra money, definitely invest in that RV
Yeah,
park. I'm trying to scrape up some cash for that as well. So, no, I appreciate you coming on the show, bro.
yeah, bro. Thanks for having me.